All right, guys, you've made it to Chapter 12, Mechanical Schedules. Mechanical Schedules is a very, very important piece, and it completes the circle of an industry standard for shared parameters. So we've talked about the industry standard for shared parameters in the families, how they're moving, controlling the articulated Cartesian arms. We've talked about them in the formulas, how we have final values that are calculated and override values, and now the schedules connect all that together. In the mechanical productivity pack, we use a method called component-based scheduling, which essentially is a given component has a set of parameters, and if a family has that component, it has those parameters. So instead of using equipment named parameters, the parameters are based upon components, and then they can be reused from family to family. So like cooling coils, and maybe we'll just look at a couple of these while we're talking here. So cooling coil. So here's our parameter set, essentially. So if a family has a cooling coil, these are the same parameters they'll be used in any family. So it makes scheduling a bit easier, and it'll make the user experience very similar from family to family. Some other components we have are things like fan. So we have auxiliary fans, which are like more condenser type fans. And then we have our fan parameters here. So as you can see, we've moved away from calling things supply and return and exhaust fans. Reason is we want to use the same parameters across multiple families. So we're using system classification in the schedules to differentiate what type of equipment the airstream is. And then also things like heat exchangers. So like a chiller has a cooling heat exchanger, and there we go. So we've already talked about this, but all the parameters have the ASHRAE standard abbreviations built into them with tooltips that give you the full language of any abbreviation that's there. And now I'm going to take a step back, and I'm going to look at the master schedule in the mechanical productivity pack. So this schedule right here, this was used as a starting point for all schedules. We recut every schedule on this latest release from the previous MPP product package, and reason is because of all these changes to the shared parameter abbreviations, and also getting ready for the auto sizing world and coil calculations. So if we look at the properties for this schedule, all right, there we go. So these schedules will have all of the parameters in the same order since they were cut from this master. And the general sequence of components, if we look at our list here, pumps, which doesn't apply to many equipment, but we have fans and fan motor. And then we have a secondary fan and secondary motor. And then basically we walk through the cooling energy path through a piece of equipment. So cooling heat exchangers, this would be like an airside energy recovery in cooling mode. And then we have cooling coils. And then we have economizer coils and reheat coils. Just looking at this list right now, this is actually really nice. The previous release of the MPP, we had all of these in full sentence format, so none of these parameters you could see in this little window here. So this is much improved. And then we go to the heating side. So we have preheat coils, and then a heating heat exchanger like energy recovery wheel. And then we go to heating coils and electric heat, gas-fired heat exchangers, and so on. Coils is the general coil is more used for rejection type coils like cooling towers and fluid coolers. So that gives you an idea of some of the components of these shared parameters in the schedules and the sequence of them.